Bill 118 becomes law, a celebration reception. Today, June 21, 2005, members of the ODA Committee are celebrating the recent passing of Bill 118. They are meeting in the conference centre of the new CNIB building in Toronto. This is an act respecting the development, implementation and enforcement of standards relating to accessibility with respect to goods, services, facilities, employment, accommodation, buildings and all other things specified in the Act for persons with disabilities. Speaking today are Patti Bregman, Dr. Bountrogianni, David Lepofsky and John Tory.
Having wandered around, the applause should be all of you, because having worked on the ODA for 10 years, I know that what it came from was each one of you who wrote letters to the editor and wrote to the minister and met with your MPPs. And in fact, it was in CNIB about 8 years ago that we had a workshop on how to do those things, and people came and it just blossomed. So you really all have to take credit for what we achieved, because it wouldn't have happened without all of you. Now I'm going to move quickly. Our schedule, as I said before, is we've got the minister here. John Tory will be coming at about 5:20, make room 5:30. Just for balance, we did invite the NDP, and they're sending regrets. They just, because of timing, we're just not able to send anybody, but they did want to send their best wishes and certainly want to work with us in the future. So I'm going to very briefly introduce the minister, because I think you all know who she is. She's done an absolutely incredible job. I met with her very soon after she took office, and she looked and she said, you know, we're committed, we're going to do it in a year. And she did it. And she did it with a lot of intelligence, a lot of wisdom, a lot of consultation, and an outstanding staff, both her staff and in the ministry. So I'm going to turn it over right now to Dr. Marie Bountrogianni, the Minister of Citizenship.
Thank you, Patti. It's just wonderful to be here this evening, continuing to celebrate the royal assent a week ago of the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act. Yeah, let's clap that, please. A lot of bills passed first reading, a few passed second, even less passed third, but very few reached royal assent. So this is going to happen. This is law now. It's very important, and the ball's rolling, and it cannot go back uphill. I too want to thank everyone here, and my ministry staff, and my own political staff for the amazing work. For my ministry and for all of you for years, and for my staff over the last year and a half. I've worked with children with disabilities all my life, and I thought I knew it all until I became Minister of Citizenship and Immigration. And I learned a great deal in the last year and a half. And great teachers like David Lepofsky, like Patti Bregman, like many of you in the room. My advisory council, my Accessibility Advisory Council. We had a great celebration last week. Wonderful people who told me what I needed to hear, and were very open and honest, but at the same time cooperative, and really helped me to move this along. We had a lot of consultations over the last year. One of the ones that I think was a milestone consultation was when we had business, big business, small business, and people with disabilities around the same table. After that meeting, David Lepofsky came up to me and he said, "Did you send out a press release?" I said, "Why would I send out a press release? It's just a consultation." He says, "This is the first time in Canada that there was an official meeting between business and people with disabilities." I just took it for granted that there were these meetings all the time. So I guess the process to me was one that I took for granted in many ways, because it was just a normal process. If you're going to change something, you're going to include everyone that's going to be affected by the change. It's common sense, isn't it? That's common sense, by the way. It's been over a decade since I could say those two words, but now I'm saying them. That's common sense. And if I heard one thing loud and clear, I heard people with disabilities, don't do anything without including us. And I think the process was excellent. I think the product was superb, and now the real work begins as far as actually making it work. And I'm going to need all of your help for that to happen. And I know you're with me. Every time I shake hands with anybody, I want to volunteer here, I want to sit on this committee, I want to do this. I think everyone has said that to me in the past few months. So I thank you for that support, not only for yourselves, for the process, but for our kids. because in the next few years, it's going to be a totally different generation, a totally new life for the next generation. Kids that will be, when they're adults, will just assume that everyone has the same rights. And will think it's unthinkable to assume otherwise. And that's the kind of future we're building together. And it's exciting. And this is not only the best bill that our government will ever pass, I'm convinced of that, but it's my first bill as a politician. I tried many times, this is the one, I succeeded on this one, and so I'm so proud that my first bill, hopefully not my only one, but my first bill is the accessibility for Ontarians with disabilities. So thank you again, and I really look forward to it.
Thank you very much for, I think, saying what we're all feeling today, and also for shepherding it through that very first bill. I'm now going to turn it over to David Lepofsky. All of you will know his name as his lawyer for the first 3 years of the ODA. I think unlike most of you in the room, you just get sucked in. I mean, years after I left working as his lawyer, I still continued to do it and stay in the back. So without saying anything else, because I know David knows most of you, or you know most of him, I'm going to turn it over to David.
It's fabulous that you've all taken the time to come here, and it's even more fabulous that it's a celebration that we all share together, because it's every one of you who make the difference. As is becoming quickly legendary, on the 10th of May, I went to a Chinese restaurant for lunch before we went down to the legislature for third reading, and I got a fortune cookie, which unfortunately did not have a Braille fortune in it. I would then, of course, expect that the duty to accommodate would require a fortune cake to be able to hold it, but in any event, the fortune I got basically is a message to all of us. It really is our slogan. Every great accomplishment is at first impossible. That's what we've accomplished. What we've accomplished here through the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act is indeed a great accomplishment, and Lord knows at first it sure seemed impossible. But the lesson or the message is even a broader one, because that very message is the message of all of your lives. Whether you were born with a disability or whether you got a disability later on in life, you yourself might have wondered, and those around you surely wondered, whether you would be able to accomplish very much, to live independently and to be happy and to succeed. But you knew you could, and you knew you must. And you proved that every great accomplishment is at first impossible. The message of your own and our own lives is indeed the message of this legislation. When people say we can't do it, we just prove them wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to just spend the rest of my time with a bunch of thank yous. They're very, very important thank yous. I want to begin with the thank yous for the sponsorship of this afternoon. I want to thank the CNIB, Jim Sanders, Mimi Young, for hosting this event, and Mark Thomas for, as always, doing a fabulous job getting it organized. Thank you very much. I want to thank the March of Dimes for arranging attendant care, and CHS for arranging for ASL, and Susan Main, who should properly have call displayed to screen my calls immediately. Nevertheless, always answers and has for a decade, saying, of course we'll do that, we can't, but we'll manage, and even with problems at the last minute, she does a fabulous job when we need it. I want to turn the thanks over now to the people and the organizations that brought us to this amazing accomplishment of this new legislation. To begin with, we have to thank the three political parties. I start with Premier McGuinty, who in opposition promised us this law, who was prepared to stand up for this law when it was not a headline grabber, and who got elected on a campaign to deliver it, and who gave the leadership within his government to do what he said he would do. I want to extend our great thanks to all those during the opposition years of the Liberal Party who fought this battle alongside with us. The likes of Steve Peters, Dominic Agostino, of Dwight Duncan, and of Ernie Parsons, who got up in the House day after day to raise this issue. And since assuming government, I want to thank Dr. Bountrogianni for her incredible leadership, for her strength and commitment, for her, dare I say it, tough negotiations. No, I did not succeed in getting her to agree to an amendment to the AODA that would require Braille on danger high voltage signs. She is a tough bargainer. Fortunately, there's a review in 4 years, I'll get it then. I thought it was revolting that they would not do that. My humor is current. As well, the minister's two successive parliamentary assistants, Mr. Ramal and Dr. Coulard, who did consultations, ran around the province, had to listen to us over and over again, and so on, and who've also helped with the cause. Within the Ministry of Citizenship, I want to particularly acknowledge, and some are in this room, Dr. Bountrogianni's fabulous political staff, who I dare say do deserve the award for it, the absolutely nicest minister staff you could ever want to deal with. I tried to soften up Jody Melnichuk on our first meeting by showing her pictures of me cuddling a koala on my honeymoon. And yeah, she is very nice, but like her boss, a tough negotiator, but fair. I also want to thank the staff of the ministry, including the Accessibility Directorate, who've had to serve a series of different ministers, a series of now 2 different governments who served them loyally, who served them well, and who are always there, we knew, to be a resource to provide excellent professional advice, both for the development of this law and now for its implementation. We are nonpartisan, of course, and there are 3 political parties in the legislature. Important thanks need to be extended to the New Democratic Party, who alongside the Liberals fought not only for a strong legislation, but did so without trying to do any one-up-personship with their fellow opposition Liberals. And whether both the leadership of Howard Hampton, the vigorous efforts of former MPPs like Francis Lankin and Marion Boyd, current MPPs like Marilyn Shirley, like Rosario Marchese and Shelley Martel, and others who fought so vigorously not only to get a law introduced, but to get strong amendments proposed. We're indebted to them. Similarly, and I'm delighted if John Tory's not here yet. No, he is here. I didn't see you, John. Well, he's not here, so I can tell you what I really think. I want you to know that John Tory was kind enough to extend an invitation to meet with myself and with Patti Bregman within a few weeks of taking on the leadership of his party. We had a fabulous meeting. We sat down, we cut to business straight away. We put the past behind us. We talked about the issues. We did not talk about politics. And as a result, after that meeting, we were delighted to see the Conservative Party vote unanimously for this legislation. And in, I think, probably parliamentary history, Cam Jackson, who also did a fabulous job putting forward amendments, himself proud of the bill he introduced 3 years ago and who did his best back then, also prepared fairly to talk about why his own bill needed to be amended. I think that sign of that important contribution and voice really helped not only with this cause, but to ensure a bipartisan effort when it was passed. So we're indebted to all 3 political parties. Indeed, I've said it before and I'll say it again. On the 10th of May, there were 2 tremendous miracles at Queen's Park. This law passed unanimously with all 3 parties voting for it. That alone is a sign of unity you don't often see. But then at the news conference afterwards, it was endorsed jointly by myself for the disability perspective, Dr. Bountrogianni from the government's perspective, and Doug Darabi from the Retail Council of Canada from the business perspective. Disability, government, and business together, that's what's going to make this law work. And that was a tremendous moment. Let me talk about, now move from government to the folks outside government who made this thing happen. And that's you. It would be impossible to try to name everybody, even everybody in this room, much less the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who read the thousands and thousands and thousands of emails, and then, God forbid, use them. And go out there and get into action. The people who've been calling members of Parliament, coming to Queen's Park events, going to their local city councils, getting resolutions passed. If their media cover the story, great. If they don't, they went and whined and complained until they did. Getting radio stations to cover the story, and if they wouldn't, they called in call-in programs, made them cover it whether they liked it or not. Those are the people who all made a difference. I'm going to mention a few only as a sample, but it's important that I do. I want to first mention a few of the organizations. Dozens made a huge difference, but I have to start with the CNIB. CNIB, under Jim Sanders' leadership, and with the help of Mimi Lowy-Young and Penny Harden before her in the Ontario Division, and with Mark Thomas's fabulous administrative support, have been funding our expenses for several years, covering our administrative costs and needs, and supporting this cause, and we are very much indebted to them. Before them, the Canadian Hearing Society. Before them, the Spina Bifida and Hydrocephalus Association of Ontario. Before them, the Canadian Paraplegic Association of Ontario. Each did a fabulous job under fabulous executive directors with fabulous staff who helped us do this with a budget of, I dare say, zero. And that budget doubled every year. I want to thank all the wonderful people who played the role of regional contact for our 23 regions around the province. Some of you are in this room, like Dean LeBute from Windsor, or Ian Greaves from Niagara Falls, St. Catharines. Many aren't able to be here, and some sadly didn't live long enough to see this wonderful, wonderful day come. But we're tremendously indebted to you for helping this happen on the ground in your communities. We're indebted to people like Kathy Lindrews in London, who wrote more columns and letters to the editor than anybody in the province of Ontario ever did, and got them all published. She did a fabulous job. Whether it's Michael Lewis, the late and great blind folk singer who put our cause to music, and his wife Kathy Lewis, who maintained his legacy even after he died. His song Still Waiting has been our anthem, but Michael can rest in peace knowing that we don't have to wait any longer. We're indebted to people like Louise Bark here from Kingston, who single-handedly went to Peterborough in 1998 when there was going to be an ODA consultation to organize the local folks to go and attend it, whether they were invited or not. And so Kingston got Peterborough started. We are indebted to Jean Beckett up in Parry Sound, who would not let go of the very important message that this is not just a big city issue, it's a small town and remote communities issue. And if you want to know why the ODA 2001 and its successor, the AODA 2005, have provisions specifically targeting what municipalities under 10,000 have to do, it's because she went to Norm Miller, her MPP from Parry Sound, and persuaded him to persuade Cam Jackson to make an amendment which was not only good for its time, but which the new government has preserved. This is the kind of bipartisanship, cross-province initiatives that have made such a huge difference. My friend Carol Reback, I don't know if Carol was able to make it, and Janet Wood from Guelph, who put together a video, just a montage of the barriers we face. A fabulous initiative. Dean LeBute, I mentioned, organized a march in Windsor, bragged that it was bigger than any march in Toronto. Dean, that's because we didn't have any marches in Toronto. My friend Ann, most of these people are people we met through doing this. Barb Anello up in North Bay, who did our website. Our website, which has brought us members around the province and brought us letters of congratulations from England, Israel, and Australia, not just from British Columbia and Manitoba. We get thousands of hits per month thanks to Barb's hard work and effort, and we're very much indebted to her. I can go on and on and on. You've all made a huge difference. The emails would accomplish nothing if people didn't get them, if they didn't read them, and if they didn't act on them. If they didn't send in our responses saying, here's a good idea, Lepofsky, why don't you use it? Or, your last email was great, but you got the date wrong. It's a fairly common thing, and thankfully not too many people commented on my grammar or my typos, of which there were numerous. But I want to just conclude my list of thank yous with one particular person, and that's my friend Patti Bregman. Patti is the hero of this movement. I've been the one whose name is on the emails, but I got to tell you, the stuff that hasn't gone out, that used words that shouldn't be used, were because Patti came and put a physical or cyber sock in my mouth more often than not. Patti lawyered our briefs, changed our strategies, invented everything from our ideas of using email to using a website, to the term barrier busters, to barrier walls. Yeah, people still have barrier walls somewhere in their agencies, which they can dust off now. Patti has made a huge difference, and if we have an unsung hero who deserves a substantial piece of the credit, it's my friend Patti. So I want to end so that John Tory can start, and I don't get a rebuttal. I don't think so. I want to end by just reminding everyone of that which our movement has proved over and over again, that the true way to succeed is following the 3 rules of advocacy. And the 3 rules of advocacy are laid down by the best advocate in the world. We got one in the back row there. Who is the best advocate in the world? I've raised this at meeting after meeting, and I think we've proven it true. Something I stole from a friend in Washington who does disability rights there. The 3 rules of advocacy come from the best advocate in the world, and that's a newborn baby. Why a newborn baby? Their 3 rules of advocacy are ours. They go like this. Number 1, know what you want. Number 2, make your message loud, clear, and simple. And number 3, don't give up until you get what you're looking for. Thank you all very much.
Schedule has gotten moved up a bit, to have John Tory here. As David said, when he took over as leader of the Progressive Conservative Party, one of the first things he did was reach out to us. And it was just such a welcoming opportunity for us and for him to really sit down, talk about the issues. Since that time, he's been following what we do. He's been very engaged. And I'm going to turn the floor over right now to John Tory, the leader of the official opposition.
Minister and David and ladies and gentlemen, Patti and ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say how happy I am to be here. This is one of those instances. I'm relatively new to politics, I think, as you know, and I think there's far too many instances we all focus on because there's lots of opportunity given to us to do so on how the system doesn't work and how the politicians don't work together and how advocacy groups and politicians can't work together and how we don't get results. And this is one of those instances in which I think the system did work. And I want to begin by commending the government and the minister. You don't hear opposition leaders do that very often, but I think it's important they should more often, because no government does all things that are wrong, and most governments try to do many things that are right. And this minister put this legislation through the legislature, introduced it, and her premier had the fortitude, as David said, to bring the legislation forward. And it made it much easier the way that it was done, and thanks to the advocacy of people like David and all those associated with him in this room, that we could see our way clear to support. I don't think it made much difference that our party had a new leader. I think that there was a recognition when I went to speak to the caucus after meeting with David and with Patti and so on, that the time had come. Perhaps it had more than come, but the bottom line was the legislation was in front of the legislature when it was there, and that the time had come. I may have had the added advantage, I suppose, of having gone to law school with David Lepofsky, so we've known each other a long time. And his persistence and his determination and his energy on this and many other matters were well known to me. I do want to say to you that I'm shocked that his sense of humor hasn't improved. It's another good reason to be here. I think what's most important about it, and it was no better then, that you know, ladies and gentlemen, so I just really want to say congratulations to the minister and to the government and to David and Patti and to all the groups that he mentioned that were involved in this, whether they be from the disability community or from business or from anywhere else, even including now you learn something when you go to every event. And I've learned from listening to David how nice the minister's staff is, and so I think that that should mean that any time I, as leader of the opposition, phone one of these small matters that I would have that need attention, that I will get the same nice treatment that everybody else gets. So it's another good reason to be here. I think what's most important about legislation like this in many cases is that it does two things. The first and most important, of course, is that it sets goals, and it doesn't just set them to be changed, it sets them in legislation. So that we all can focus on those goals as we move forward. I'm a businessman transplanted now into politics, and I certainly understand, having been a business leader, the importance of having those goals because it keeps you focused on achieving them. It makes you accountable for very specific things. You can't really, kind of paper these things over. There are goals that are set up in this legislation that are meant to be achieved and that are legislated to be achieved, and I think regardless of who is in government, who the minister is, who the public servants are, those goals are there and they won't change. At least until the bill is reviewed, and if anything, when the bill is reviewed, I suspect they may set even more ambitious goals as opposed to making them less ambitious. The other thing a bill like this does, and the debate surrounding it, and all of the email correspondence, and all the different groups that are putting forward amendments and suggestions and so on, is in and of itself it raises awareness. And I think awareness is something that is just critically important. There are so many people that live their lives, they're blessed to live their lives without any kind of a disability. They don't often even have any contact with people who have disabilities, and as a result, it's very hard for them to understand what confronts people who do have disabilities. And I wanted to just finish. I see my friend Bill Adair here from the Canadian Paraplegic Association, which I've had the honor to be involved with for a number of years as an honorary director, and the last couple of years as honorary chair of the Rick Hansen Wheels in Motion event in Toronto. And just to tell you about, I guess it was a week ago Sunday, we had the Wheels in Motion event, and we invented something for this year to try and raise more money. We did about $100,000 extra, a wheelchair, corporate wheelchair challenge. And it was wonderful because it got 38 corporations to sponsor teams to come out, and we had one of these kind of, races involving people having to use wheelchairs to do various things. And we had probably 10 people from each of those corporations out, and of course they gave some money as well. But, I can tell you what I learned from it, for example. I can tell you that until that minute, I'd never sat in a wheelchair in my life. And I learned from that, one of the things I had to do, and one of the legs I had to go on the race was to go down in the wheelchair, pick up in 2 plastic bags a bunch of groceries, and then wheel the wheelchair back with the groceries and carry the groceries. Why would I have thought before, and I apologize if I should have, but why would I have thought before about the challenge of carrying a couple of bags of groceries when you're wheeling a wheelchair? But I understood by the time I finished that race about what that challenge was. I didn't understand it completely, but I had some inkling perhaps of what it's about. My assistant who's here with me said to me the next day as we were driving in the car going off somewhere else, he said to me, "Are the muscles in your shoulder sore today from having been in the race?" And I said, "Well, actually mine weren't," which just means that he's not in very good physical condition. But having said that, my muscles weren't sore, but his and some of the other people's were. And again, it's something you don't think about, that there's an effort involved here and muscles you're using and so on, that it's just one more thing. And then finally, when I came home the next night to dinner, my wife Barb and I were talking, and she said to me, "It was interesting yesterday. I saw you, I was sitting in the wheelchair waiting for the race, and I was sitting next to someone who uses a chair, who's disabled, and she said to me, it was interesting to see you sitting there in the chair talking to that person, but she said, what was interesting was, after you had the conversation for 7 or 8 minutes, you got up out of the chair and walked away, and the other person was still there sitting in the chair." She just commented on that, and I remembered that, and I've spoken about it the other day at the Canadian Paraplegic Association lunch, because it struck me again as raising awareness. So I think that's what these pieces of legislation do. They set goals, which is the most important thing, but they raise and continue to keep our awareness focused on this kind of very important challenge that we face as a society. So again, congratulations most importantly to each and every one of you for the leadership you showed. People in politics do need prodding to do things, no matter who they are or what party they're from. Keep up that work. Make sure that when the review comes, we set our ambitions even higher, because I think it's the right thing to do. Thanks very much.
I want to thank everyone for coming, and just one thing before we go back to partying. I want to welcome Ernie Parsons, who just came out the back, who's an MPP from Belleville. Many of you will know that Ernie is the person who went on the road. He put his heart and soul into this, and we're delighted you're here. So we're now back to just partying and having fun and meeting people, and hopefully we'll be celebrating again in the next few years when we get our standards. And anyhow, good world to come. Thanks.